Welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead. My name is Kelly, and on my channel I focus on food, growing it, preparing it, and preserving it. I do 3 videos a week. On Tuesdays, I do a segment called Tasty Tuesday, where I show how to make quick, easy, healthy, nutritious, and delicious meals that you can usually get onto the table in 30 minutes or less. I know that when I was growing up, nobody taught me how to cook. I became a mom in my early 20s and kind of had to figure things out, and I did the best I could. And that's been 30 years since then now. So I want to just share some really easy recipes, really easy cooking tips in case, like me, you were not taught to cook or how to make good, healthy, nutritious meals for your family. So that's what I do on Tuesdays. I have a playlist for that. On Fridays, I do freeze drying because I have a freeze dryer, and I'm really, really big into food preservation for peace of mind, for emergency preparedness, and for overall health. And on Sundays, I like to do a video that has something to do with either gardening, harvest related preservation, and that is what we're going to be doing today. I have a whole lot of jalapeno peppers that I need to deal with. I've already preserved some of them. I'm going to be doing a canning video on some jalapeno salsa here coming up. But today I am going to be making some jalapeno poppers. Just going to go into the freezer that I can pop out at any time during football season this year and just bake straight from frozen. Super easy to have an appetizer ready to go. A really big crowd pleaser. This has been a really busy week, and I'm gonna just kind of, while I'm prepping these or getting these prepped, I'm gonna show you some of the things that I've been doing while I get all of these seeded and cored. And then I'll bring you back and we are gonna get them filled. Now I have this filling here that I made for another recipe that I did called raviolis, keto raviolis, where this is the filling that I used in prosciutto wrappers, and then we fried those. And this is a mascarpone cream cheese, spicy, not too spicy, but delicious powdered down freeze-dried pepper mix. You can use just regular cream cheese. In fact, I've got a couple other blocks over here on my counter on standby in case this is not enough. If I end up using that cream cheese, I'll also just mix in some shredded cheese to go with that. When I get these sliced and filled, I'm gonna wrap them with bacon, and then I'm gonna put them on my freeze dryer trays. I'm not gonna be freeze drying these, but I wanna do single layer of these to get them frozen so that they won't stick together when I seal them. So I am going to get cutting these, and I will bring you back after I give you kind of a tour of what my week has been like in the kitchen.
So I started off by grabbing a bunch of tomatoes from the garden. I have a bunch of big slicers that I need to get dealt with. And honestly, I want to get these ones dehydrated. I have shown this on another video for tomato pie, but I use sliced dehydrated tomatoes in tomato pie. It brings in an incredible flavor, especially if you're like me and every once in a while you want a tomato pie in the winter when you have to buy tomatoes from the grocery store. It just imparts the beautiful garden flavor that you're not going to get in the middle of winter. These I'm also going to experiment with this year as well. I'm thinking I might add them to like a lasagna or other types of dishes that you just want that really rich flavor. These are going to be going into my Excalibur dehydrator for about 15 to 18 hours. I do that at 150 degrees. Once those were done, I grabbed more slicer tomatoes. These I think are my pineapple tomatoes. So just doing the same thing. I'm getting them sliced down, and I go about 1/4 of an inch thick on these. They do tend to shrink when you dehydrate them, and they're so easy to use in that form. Because they're an heirloom tomato, they don't always grow in a nice, pretty round kind of globe shape, so I did have to get a little bit creative in getting these cut down. I didn't want to waste much, and then I moved on to this ginger. I had purchased a lot of ginger from Azure Standard in my monthly order, and I didn't get to all of it very quickly, so some of it was starting to get dry. So I thought, okay, well, we're just gonna have to make the most of this. So I spent probably a good 90 minutes peeling and chopping all of this ginger, and I am going to be putting it into my Vitamix here and just pureeing it down. How amazing will it be to have pureed ginger ready to go? I will be freeze drying that, but I do that on another video. The other thing I'm accomplishing on the same day, so this was like an all-day kitchen prep day, is the last batch of garlic that I bought a big bag of it, and the cloves are maddeningly small, and it takes forever to get enough garlic peeled. So I grabbed a whole bunch of those and just spent a lot of time peeling them. And I am gonna also be putting this into my Vitamix and pureeing that down with a little bit of water to keep things moving through the machine. But I'm gonna make little pucks out of this, and that's going to allow me to just grab some garlic quick out of the freezer that is already ready to use in a dish while I'm cooking. And I think that this is gonna work out really, really well, and it's gonna just save me prep time. So this gets blitzed up fairly easily. Like I said, I do have to add a little bit of water in there, and that's perfectly fine. So once this is all completely pureed, you can see I've got a little silicone, I think it's a candy mat, and I am just gonna be putting between a teaspoon and a tablespoon and a half in each. So I start out with a tablespoon, and then I move over to a teaspoon. I don't have enough of these trays. I only have 2 of them, and as you can see, this is quite a bit of garlic. So I'm going to be doing the teaspoons on a piece of parchment paper. And I will get these frozen just like this, and then pop them out and put them into bags that I can easily store in the freezer. And of course, I'll mark which ones have which amount in them. And then, like I said, I will be ready to go whenever I need garlic as I am cooking throughout this winter. I have a ton of jalapenos peppers to deal with. So I'm starting out by dicing them up. And first I'm putting them into a measuring cup because honestly, I'm trying to figure out how many of these peppers I need to save for another salsa canning video that I'm gonna be doing. So that's why I have the measuring cup there. And I'm trying to dice up like 9 cups total just to see how many peppers to estimate what that would be. Spent a lot of time dicing. I do have gloves on here because this is a ton of pepper to deal with, and the capsaicin oil really irritates my skin after a while. I always think it's not going to, but it always does, especially when you're dealing with this many peppers. So once I get the 9 cups measured out, I'm again estimating how many that's going to take. I'm just going to freeze the diced peppers, and I can easily add them to like chilies and whatever else I want over this winter. And I'm going to do the same thing with the rings here. I'm setting aside the larger peppers for the jalapeno poppers. And then the rings that I'm slicing down and packaging up, I can use those in a canning recipe this year if I decide I want to can something else spicy, you know, the cowboy candy or something else. So these are just getting vacuum sealed. I'm doing 2 cups of the rings per bag, and then I do between 1 and 2 cups of the dices per bag. I'm thrilled to have this in the freezer. I do have a lot of peppers freeze dried. I probably will still do more freeze dried peppers this year. But it's also nice just to have ones that you just have to defrost. You don't have to worry about rehydrating. You can throw them frozen into, you know, like I said, your chili or whatever you want to use them for. It just makes for a simple, quick ingredient to add to a home-cooked meal. And once these are all vacuum sealed, I will just put them into a Ziploc bag separated by whether or not they're the diced or the sliced. And I'll just be able to pull them out whenever I need to over the winter when I want to add them to a dish or I want to do another canning video. It makes for a long day and a lot of work in the kitchen, but certainly well worth it to have a stocked freezer. And now back to the present and all of those jalapeno poppers.
I've got almost all of the peppers done, and what I'm doing is just cutting off the stem. I'm not cutting through the pepper if I can help it because I don't want the filling to run out. So just cutting off the stem. Cutting them lengthwise. This is a lot of jalapeno poppers. That's okay. We will definitely eat them. I'm just trying to imagine where I'm going to find room for all of these, but I'll figure that out. All right, then with a spoon, I am at the very top of the ribs near the stem area. I'm just kind of breaking through that fibrous material that is the ribs and holds the seeds, and then just scooping that out. So now I have a really good bowl that is closed on both ends to hold the filling. And if you're sensitive to peppers, the heat in peppers, wear gloves. I was wearing gloves when I did most of these, but then I took them off. So I can handle a few peppers, which I tend to say every year. And then for days on end, underneath my fingernails burns, the palms of my hands burn. But this is a very, very small amount of peppers compared to how many peppers I usually preserve each year. So I will be okay. And the gloves I have are very small. They're very awkward to get on and off. So we'll be fine. Okay, now comes the fun part. We get to fill the peppers. So I'm going to bring my trays over and get rid of the bowls. Don't need any of this anymore. All right, so here is that filling, and I am just going to snip a bit of this bag off, just a little hole in the bottom, and we are going to, just like with frosting, we are just going to fill these peppers about up to the edge of the pepper. I forgot. I put eggplant in here. That is so exciting. This filling is delicious. So that was, when did I do this? I think I did this in April. So I used last year's freeze-dried peppers in here, or freeze-dried eggplants in here. So yummy. I'm just piping some filling in. And again, this is mascarpone and cream cheese. I also have some specialty peppers in here that I freeze-dried and powdered down. You can put any seasonings that you would like in here. You can mix shredded cheese in here, and I will do that if I need to open up more cream cheese, which it looks like I will. What an easy way to fill peppers. That's about it. All right, we have 2 trays plus 4 half peppers to go. I'm going to start with 1 block of cream cheese. I might need 2 blocks of cream cheese. I'm going to go ahead and mix up both of them. And if I don't use them all, I will freeze it, because it does freeze well for this application. Now, when you go to use these, you would just take them out of the freezer, put them onto a wire rack on top of a baking sheet. I usually put foil down on the bottom of the baking sheet to catch the grease from the bacon. And then you can pop them right into the oven, frozen, onto a preheated 400-degree oven, maybe 425-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Works beautifully. All right, to this, I am going to add some shredded cheese. Just going to get some, I'm going to use Colby Jack. I have a mozzarella, extra sharp cheddar, and Colby in the fridge right now. So I'm going to use the Colby. I think it'll be a nice color combination. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to add some seasoning. This is that pepper I was telling you about. So these I freeze dried last year. These are, I got these at the farmer's market. I did not grow these. I love these peppers. These are what my vendor there calls half hots. They're a very, very fruity pepper, and they're also spicy. They're delicious. And then we are just going to get that mixed well together. And then I'm going to put it right back in that bag, and we're going to try piping that out again onto the rest of the peppers. I'm not going to add any salt to this because the bacon will bring the salt. Each side has my hole, that side. Okay. This is not going to be quite as smooth coming out. It's not as soft as the first batch of cheese filling was, but we should still make some good progress here. I'm going to fill this guy just a little bit more. I'm going to try. Yeah. Yeah, that is not quite as friendly as the filling from the first batch was. We'll get there though. All right. If I were to leave this out for another hour, it would probably pipe just as easily as the first batch did, but I want to get this done. So we're just going to carry on. Two trays. All right. I'm going to smush those down and spread that out a little bit. So this is the stem end, right? So when I cleared away the ribs and seeds, I left the end intact so the cheese would not spill out when it cooks. Third tray done. My dogs can smell the cheese and they are all at my feet, all three of them. My dogs are definitely a part of the family. So I would guess that this was 2.5 to 3, well, probably 3 blocks of cream cheese altogether. I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 8 peppers per tray times 4 trays. And I've got about 2.5 pounds of bacon waiting. And looks like I'm going to have to steal from some peppers to get cheese in all of them. It was a bit industrious going with this many, but we will make this work. We will figure it out. All right, so I've got 4 empty peppers over here that we need to get some filling into.
This one's good. I've already smoothed those out, so let me go back to these. See, this one's over. A lot of them are over. So we piped in a healthy amount. We've got to smooth them down to the size of the edge of the peppers. And that is where we're going to get the extra to fill these last two. That one's a little shallow. I have one more tray to smooth out, so I'm going to set this guy aside. All right, we still have one pepper to fill. I'm not sure we're going to get enough. I might just take that pepper out and add him to my canning plans for tomorrow. Let's see. It's really not enough. Is there anybody else that's short? We'll put him in here. All right, I'm going to take this guy out. So I have almost 4 trays. Let's get these wrapped with some bacon. All right, I've got my bacon ready to go just to kind of help make this faster. I will usually tear these in half and stretch them out half of one amongst one pepper. So you want to make sure also that you get the seams side down. Bacon is pretty stretchy. This is not the bacon that I get from my farmer. That bacon is not quite as fatty. It is not as stretchable, and it's also much thinner. This is center cut bacon. One tray ready for the freezer. And this amount of poppers will honestly probably last us into next year's start of football season. And that's okay. I've actually pulled poppers like this out of my freezer even after 2 years in the freezer, and they were still delicious. You just definitely want to be sure that they are sealed well in a freezer quality container. And that is one of the reasons why I want them frozen flat like this first, so that when I, put 4, 6, or 8 into a container, I can easily separate them to get them onto the baking tray from a frozen state. It just makes it so easy to use these to get these cooked up. If you have company pop over, you're hosting for the game, or you just feel like a delicious, creamy, cheesy, salty, spicy snack, you can have that ready in 25 minutes with 0 effort. And I will be vacuum sealing these.
And I'm turning the bacon so that the fatty edge is on the outside, not getting caught underneath and overlap, just because I want it to cook all the way through in the oven. One more tray. I do have parchment paper down on the bottom of these trays as well. That's it. Last one. All right, I'm gonna get all of these trays into the freezer, and when they are frozen tomorrow, I will bring you back. That is about the time that my last batch of tomatoes will be done out of the dehydrator, and then we will get everything packaged up and show you the culmination of what we got accomplished this week. We've got a lot of jalapeno poppers to put away, so I'm gonna use a food saver bag. And to be honest, these have been in the freezer for a week or so. I had some technical difficulties with some of my equipment and had to get something else purchased. So this video is a little out of order, but all good. So I am going to put these poppers in. I'm probably gonna do like 4 to 8 per bag. So there's 4. I'll do 8 in here. And these just snap apart and they're not gonna stick together. It'll be a lot easier to get them packaged up, and a lot even easier once they're packaged up to just pull them out of the freezer, get them out of the bags, to get them on a baking tray and get them cooked up. And I think I said 400 to 425. That depends on your oven. Everybody's oven ranges just a little bit, and it would take anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes, again, depending on your oven. Super, super quick and easy. I love having these at the ready, available to use. I've got 8 in this bag, and I'll mark it that way. These are pre-cut bags.
So the technical difficulties I was having is that my mic broke. I ordered a new one, and then that one broke. But I was ordering cheap mics. YouTube is new to me this year. I'm still trying to figure out equipment and just all the technicalities of it. After the second mic broke and I had to do voiceover on a lot of videos because of static, I bit the bullet and bought a better mic. And of course, I forgot to put it on for this segment. So please forgive me. It has been a week here. It has truly been a week here. And it was a struggle. So I realized I didn't even put the mic on, did not have it on. I realized that later in the video. Please have some grace for me. I will really try not to do that again. And because the sound quality is so incredibly bad for this entire segment, I'm gonna speed through it here. We're gonna skip. The process is the same for every bag of poppers. I load between 4 and 8 poppers per bag, suck all the air out and get them sealed. This just goes pretty quick, and we're just gonna skip to the end because the sound quality is really horrendous. I did want to show how easy it is to use this food saver. While a food saver does cost a little over $100, at least when I bought it probably 5 years ago, it's not cheap by any means, but it does get the job done. I know there's better models on the market, but mine hasn't broken yet, so I continue to use it. Clearly you can see it really does suck all of the air out. You just want to make sure that you have a really tight seal. Sometimes I go back and I do a second seal on them just to make sure. But in this case, I'm going to be putting them also into a freezer Ziploc storage bag. So I feel pretty confident that these would last for at least a year, if not 2. And this would probably last me for two full years. That is going to do it for a wrap. I got about a gallon of freeze-dried tomato slices using the late slicer tomatoes in my garden. Super happy to have that. I've mentioned that I did this because of my tomato pie desires. Usually once, maybe twice a winter, I do want to make a nice ooey gooey tomato pie. It's phenomenal if you haven't tried it. But tomatoes don't grow here in the winter, so I have to use store-bought tomatoes, which makes it an okay pie. But a couple years ago, I tried adding some of my dehydrated garden tomatoes to it, and it's mind-blowing, utterly mind-blowing. So I am super happy to have these now on the shelf. I'm also going to experiment with these this winter if I make things like an eggplant parm, a zucchini parm, other types of casserole type dishes, because this imparts an amazing sun-dried tomato flavor that just brings you right back to the peak of summer. So I'm super excited about that. I've also got these diced jalapenos portioned out into 1 cup increments. This is going to be a grab and go ingredient that I can drop into chili. I am already starting, now that it's fall, I'm already starting to dream about things like white chicken chili and just dropping a cup of this into that. How easy and delicious is that going to be? I have the 2 cup per bag of the jalapeno rings, and these, I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm thinking I might want to pickle them. I do like pickled jalapenos more than I like the candied jalapenos. I actually still have some candied jalapenos on my shelf, so these will probably be pickled. Whatever I do with them, I will bring you along. I have the pureed garlic. So this is another going to be easy grab and drop into any recipe that I want to make, and I'm super happy to have this, especially because that garlic was so small and so tedious to peel every time I needed to use some. So this is a time saver for me. And then we got 9 packages of these jalapeno popper appetizers. I can, again, just pull these out if I have company come over and I want to serve a little appetizer, or we're watching the game, hosting the game. Anytime I just want a 20-minute appetizer, these are ready to go. And of course, I also pureed down that ginger, but at this point that has already been run through the freeze dryer and it came out beautiful. Super excited to have that. The difference between the pureed that I just did and the powder one that I did, I don't know, a couple of months ago, the powder one is more like just a spice, right? I'm just gonna add it if I want a little bit of ginger, but the paste is going to be if I'm doing something like a stir fry and I really want to infuse that ginger flavor in there. A lot of recipes out there call for ginger paste and you can buy it in the grocery store. Now I don't have to. Thank you so much for joining me for another edition of Sunday Fun Day. My name is Kelly, you're at A Better Choice Homestead, and I do hope you'll come back and visit again soon.